Hello again, I am Blunty, and let's start off this vid on Pay-to-Win monetization with a question. Where do you draw the line with microtransactions personally? Are you against them entirely, just on principle? Are you okay with them, but only in otherwise free-to-play games, or as Nintendo cynically put it, free-to-start games, and you're against them completely in regular full-price games? Do you begrudgingly accept them as just a fact of life at this point, especially so in ongoing so-called live service games? Or are you perhaps actually doing quite well for yourself? You've got money to spare and you keep a moderate budget that you spend monthly on your personal entertainment choices of games and microtransactions and spend regularly and consistently in these systems. The same way some people might budget for, weekly nights out or regularly attending sports events or something. This is the way you spend that entertainment money. Are you maybe even what the devs call a whale? Someone who not only spends regularly, but also significantly. You're doing quite well for yourself. In which case, I'll call your attention to this little button down. No, never mind. And if you are okay with microtransactions, what kind of microtransactions are you okay with? Because that's another line in the sand, isn't it? How about cosmetic only? Perhaps maybe you appreciate pay-for-convenience stuff like XP boosters or item drop rate enhancers. What about season passes, paying for what amounts to be a subscription model for which you then have to still work to earn your way through a various set of preordained rewards? Yeah, season passes sound a bit odd when you put it like that, don't they? Anyway, Blue Protocol, our core example today, upcoming game, I'm pretty jazzed about it, has basically all of those systems. And there are two systems in particular I am very concerned about, and I believe a lot of the player base, or potential player base at least, should be very concerned about. A pair of related systems that could, to many if not most, reasonable players, be considered pay to win. Those three dirty little words which set off alarm bells and start red flags waving. And again, as someone who's pretty hyped for the game, it's a genuine worry about the system damaging the enjoyment of the game and damaging the community around it. So the first of these two systems I'm talking about is built around tickets, a consumable item that you can activate for individual missions and quests, and it affects the reward system. And the reward system in Blue Protocol works pretty much in a standard RPG way. No big surprises here. You complete a mission, say a dungeon run, and you get a set of rewards, say a fixed amount of in-game currency and XP, plus a chance for crafting item drops from a loot table. I mean, you folks know all this, right? I'm sure I don't need to explain this kind of system to anyone watching this video. But in addition to that, in Blue Protocol, there's also an extra reward system, and this is a time-gated system. One of my least favorite systems in free-to-play games. See, every real-life day, this system gives you 3 extra reward perks to use, and you can store up to 10 of them at a time. If you already have 10 and another day rolls by, you just don't get those 3 that day. So you got to spend them to get them. And this is a system similar to that in a lot of multiplayer and free-to-play games in particular. It is designed to keep players coming back regularly, logging in every day or two, by giving them a time-gated bonus to use that also caps out. Meaning, to take efficient use out of these items, you have to log in and play at least a couple of times a week, ideally every single day. And that's fine. In fact, that kind of system is an overall positive for helping keep the player base of these types of games engaged and active. The problem with this system lies in the fact you can also buy what they're calling tickets to refill these normally time-gated extra reward rolls, meaning a player who spends money can get more of these bonus rewards in any given day, which means more bonus XP for their character, more in-game currency for their account, more crafting items dropped, and more ancillary consumables rewarded than a free player can get with the exact same time investment. Which I'm not sure if I'd call pay to win just yet in the most earnest sense of the word, as I tend to use it at least, but I would not argue against anyone who thinks this is absolutely pay to win style crap. Make your own call on that, I'm not going to argue with you. The developers are aware that a system like this can cause controversy and even unbalance the game, and they've stated in live streams when addressing the shop systems that the game has been balanced in a way that players shouldn't feel the need to constantly have their extra reward system active, and therefore not consider it essential to keep buying these refill tickets to skip the time gating. But I feel like that's a pretty conditional statement to make, because that's just in the context of crafting and material drops. From the screenshots we have, it seems activating extra rewards also doubles the XP gain rewarded from a dungeon or whatever, and doubles the currency reward system. I can't see how letting some players simply keep paying to keep boosting their character progress at double speed can possibly be called balanced. It just isn't, is it? But in addition, they also say there's also a limit on how many of these refilled tickets you can buy at once, though they've not said actually what that limit is. And for that matter, it's not clear on how many reward roll chances each ticket recharges for you. Do you get 3 more per roll, just like you get 3 of these per day, or does it recharge all 10 at once? That detail alone can mean a massive difference in the advantage, the scale of the advantage a paying player will have over someone else not paying for these particular items. And this is something that might take a little time to shake out once the game is actually released. We're going to have to wait and see how this feels in-game. And there's always the path of the developer patching it if it winds up being unbalanced, unfair, or simply causes too much toxicity in the player bases between the haves and have-nots and wills and will-nots users of these systems. However, the second related system that's a larger worry for me, as it, in my view, leans quite a lot closer to simply being pay-to-win, a much purer form of pay-to-win, is tied into the crafting system. Now, crafting, as I currently understand it, and at least as it stood as of the most recent beta, is a little complicated and leans on several interconnected systems. So I'll try for a concise, boiled down version of it here that just sticks to the stuff that's relevant to what I'm talking about. So, crafting is key to Blue Protocol, being that it is how you get your weapons, which also informs what class you're playing, how powerful you are, and what playstyle you're playing within any given class. You can get the occasional weapon drop from a reward chest in dungeons and the like, and this is a recent change they've made based on feedback of the latest beta, but the largest source of your weapon progress will be from the crafting system. And it's a system you must use, as there is no auction house or player trading for this kind of stuff. You won't be able to rely on other people crafting stuff for you as you can in some other MMO games. You will be required to engage with this system consistently and constantly to craft your own weapons as part of the progression system of the game. Weapons are divided into sets and types and the like, pretty common for RPG stuff. One weapon set might be built around drops from a specific area on the map, or a particular dungeon, or a particular boss drops, or a combination of those. You know, all common stuff that we're pretty used to. Weapons have levels and stats attached to them, and damage numbers and the like, which is all, again, pretty normal stuff. But also they have special effects, which roll using a system tied to RNG. So a particular level 10 bow, for example, might roll with a particular effectiveness against ogres, or some other specific enemy class. So you can have different weapons built around different mission types, and you'll swap them in and out depending on what you're doing and where you're doing it in the game. And that sounds like a pretty cool system to me. I like that kind of thing, that conditional equipment sets. However, on top of the basic RNG roll for a particular anti-monster effectiveness, the percentage of that attack boost against particular monsters is also an RNG roll, secondary to that. And that RNG stems from 2 separate rolls. The first roll is for how successful a craft is considered to be. You'll either have normal success or great success, and depending on that result, the odds of the attack boost is changed. The same dual roll RNG system applies to weapon sockets as well, because there's also a plug system in the game, which, to what many other fantasy RPG games, they might call gem slots for your weapons. But the number of plug sockets you get on a weapon craft, which can range from 1 to 4 sockets, is RNG determined, and at the extreme end, to get a 4-socket weapon, you need to roll a great success on the craft, And even then, there's only an 8% chance of getting 4 sockets, and a 25% chance of getting just 3. So you might be starting to see already that getting, a gold roll, perfect, ideal weapon with 4 slots and the best anti-monster type attack boost, and doing that for each of the monster classes in the game, well, let's just say the endgame grind will be a fat one. Because you've got to get the RNG roll for the right elemental type on your weapon, and you've got to get the great success RNG roll, and you've got to get the right anti-monster attack boost, and the RNG roll for max slots, so you can further boost your weapon with plugs. That's a lot of RNG going on to land just right for a perfect or even near perfect weapon. And that is without even thinking about obtaining the best plugs to socket into your weapon, because those are also RNG drops, and they run on a 1 to 5 star system. And I'm actually okay with all of that. I've spent literally thousands of hours, that's thousands plural, in Monster Hunter Rise, happily grinding away for building various endgame sets and having a ball doing it. And some of the materials I need to get for that, it can be a 20-minute long hunt for a 1% chance of getting the drop. The grind for min-maxed equipment is not my issue here. The issue drops when, well, guess what you could pay for in the cash shop in this game? If you guessed, you can pay for an item which significantly boosts the chances of rolling great success weapons and therefore boosts the odds of having favorable rolls for special effects attack boost and socket numbers. Oh, you guessed right. Paying players can literally just spend money to get better weapon RNG rolls more easily and more consistently. That, to my mind, falls squarely in the pay-to-win category. Now, this game is PvE only, so small mercies that this system won't give anyone a competitive advantage over other players directly. In fact, if anything, playing alongside a pay-to-win player would be an advantage because, in theory, there's a higher chance that they have strong gear, which, because you're on the same team, is useful to you to have better odds of a stronger player standing next to you. But let's say the game implements some kind of leaderboard system for the fastest clear times on dungeons and whatnot, a not uncommon system even in these kinds of PvE games. And a lot of players really, really want these kind of systems because systems like that are great for a little friendly competition even in PvE only games. A nice little built-in official way to track clear times and stuff. It's a lot of fun. But if a paying player has better odds of obtaining better equipment, then how is that not pay to win in a very pure sense in the context of these friendly competitions, built into the game or otherwise? Because when you stack these systems together, here's what happens. A paying player can buy tickets to boost how many extra reward quests they can do, which in turn means they obtain double the gold they would ordinarily be capable of obtaining. They obtain more crafting materials as quest rewards, and all of that can be pulled directly into the crafting system. So paying players can craft more weapons more often, already giving them a leg up, and once the fact you can pile on the luck boosting item for better crafting success rates, well, they're crafting way more weapons, way more often, and having better success with those weapons. And I'm not loving how that all settles down. Now, if you wanted to defend this system, say, on principle, it is fair to say a paying player using these systems, even to their maximum effectiveness, they can't obtain anything a completely free-to-play player cannot also obtain. And that's true. A free player can simply play more, grind more, work more, spend more time, or simply just be slightly luckier. A paying player just can't simply buy a perfect gold roll weapon to get running with either. They have to, do the rolls, have to use the crafting system. But all that said, that being a fair and balanced system is only true if you consider your time and skill worthless. Is your time worthless? Mine isn't. Now, I don't think this is a game-breaking issue, but I do think it'll be something the player base has a lot of conversations about, a lot of loud conversations, with particular and frequently abrasive vocabulary choices. And I imagine it's something the devs will have to respond to frequently. And whether that response is trying to justify themselves or that response is changing how these systems work to make it fairer, well, only time will tell on that. In addition to that, everything I've been talking about so far is coming from the Japanese closed betas, because that's all that exists so far. And we already know that Amazon Games are going to be publishing this game for us Westerners. And Amazon games have already got a history of changing monetization schemes, particularly ones that lean towards pay to win, to make them a little more palatable for the Western palate. Because, Eastern gamers, South Korea and Japan especially, are a lot more easygoing when it comes to pay to win stuff. They push against it less than Western players tend to do. So when Amazon Games published Lost Ark, for example, they pulled back on some of that stuff. Not completely, but they did pull back a little compared to what the game is for Korean players, for example. So there is a decent chance, probably pretty likely, actually, in my opinion, that Amazon themselves will fiddle with this system a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable for those of us in the West looking forward to playing this game. Again, only time is going to tell on that. So how about you? Do you think that it's fair to call these systems pay to win or not? Will you spend money on this? How happy are you going to be to spend money on this? How desperate and frustrating will you have to get with bad RNG luck before just giving up and trying to start paying your way out of it? Or will you just refuse to engage with these systems on principle alone? Or even, is this enough to make you just think again about trying the game at all, even if it is free? Oh, it is also worth noting that you can get these tickets and success boosting rewards as occasional rewards from some of the free systems, but obviously they'll be rare and you won't get nearly as many as someone who can just pay for more can get. So I'm also under the understanding that there will be a few guaranteed ones in things like the season pass. Anyway, let me know how you're feeling in the down below as usual. Thank you very much for watching. I am Blunty, and thank you as always to my, well, not pay to win peoples, but patrons scrolling up above there. You pay to win my attention. A little bit of attention at the end of every video. That's what you're paying for there, I suppose. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. I'll catch you next time.